Welcome to the third episode of That Young Cineast. Today is February 11th, and today is all about our past with filmmaking. Kaelin, Emma, and I have all worked on creative projects together and have put our creative minds together to create and create things.
To create together we've created and
We create
together,
and create, we
create.
create.
And
I think this is going to be fun. So I've got my own binder of projects right here.
same.
And then I have my journal as well.
No, I
So-
have nothing.
You have nothing. You have
I
your
have
mind.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Emma is not here today due to scheduling conflicts. But like I said, the show goes on, the year goes on. You know. Well, let's just get right into it. So, first off, I want to talk about how I became obsessed, or not necessarily obsessed, but interested in filmmaking. Is originally, as people do these days, I was watching YouTube, and I found some animation YouTube channels, and I thought that was pretty cool. I tried that out. I begged my dad to buy a drawing tablet, like a pretty high-tech drawing tablet for a 9-year-old that didn't know how to animate or draw really. And I made a couple of videos, but what I found most exciting was the editing part. Yes, making those animations with pretty bad frame by frame movement and stuff like that. I found it more exciting to take that video that I exported and put it into the timeline on an editing software and then tweak it, or edit these videos together to make it sequential and stuff like that. I found that more exciting. So instead of spending more time drawing and hours of drawing these circles moving for 5 seconds of footage, I found it easier to record myself with a DSLR. So as one does, just like Smosh, I took my own camera and I filmed myself making funny videos and acting as if I had an audience. And I have Q&A videos, I have cooking videos, and I did everything I could to just get back to the editing. That's
Yeah.
the beginning of mine. Kaelin?
Oh gosh. Well, I think I had something similar. I didn't go into animation, but I don't know if I actually finished them, but I used to play video games with my friends, the kid ones like Toontown and Wizard 101, and I would take screenshots from those games. I don't even know if you would know these, Matthew, because this was I was playing these when you were born. That's
Okay.
the thing. It was 2000, whatever, the early 2010s, and you were just a baby. But I would take these screenshots and I would put them to music. I think I did one music video like that where it was just screenshots off of Windows Movie Maker when it was free. And that was my first attempt to make something. And then afterwards, my mom had a camera and I would just set it up in the other room. And I did a few different videos, me playing with action figures and making stories out of that. And I had one where I was just reading to the camera from Percy Jackson, the first chapter of the first book, The Lightning Thief, because it was just, I loved it. I remember this one part. It's kind of cringy looking back, but I read a line and I was like, I like that. Let's read it again. And then I actually read it again, and I put those all into Windows Movie Maker again and created a little. I felt like episodes of some kind of. It would have been episodes of a YouTube channel or videos of a YouTube channel, but I made it into episodes of my TV show.
Where did you put them?
Nowhere. I put it on DVD.
Oh,
I put it on DVD.
Physical
form. Yeah, and I think
crazy.
I went by the name Nicky Donald was my name.
Nicky Donald. I've never heard of this.
Nicky Donald. Yeah,
I've never said anything.
I've never
about
talked
this.
about this. No, I don't talk about it. I mean, it went nowhere, and it was, it was just something fun to do on the side. But like you said, it was just making these videos, pretending like I have an audience, and getting into the foray of video
just
editing.
production,
And yeah.
I have a couple of, I think somewhere hidden in the pile of SD cards is thousands of photos of me doing like Lego stop motion. I didn't take that into put it into video, but it's just like being behind the camera and doing these things to create like a product was actually really fun.
Yeah, never did Lego stop motion, but always wanted to. So that was cool. That's cool that you did that. Or you didn't make the video, but
yeah,
it's still cool that you're trying.
Speaking of making videos, literally all of filmmaking, school projects. So, but while I did have everything that I did to my fake YouTube channel and like fake audience, when I entered like middle school, we'd do these video projects, and it was actually a big deal when I was doing it because I was one of the I don't want to be braggy, but I was one of the people that was pretty good at making good videos. And like every time the group project or video project would come up, I'd have like at least 10 people turning around looking at me asking if they want to be in my group. So I feel like I was pretty hard carry back then. I have a list right here. So my first one that I made in like 6th grade or 5th grade, like after the pandemic and after we can get together and film, it was a historical mockumentary. So like we were assigned this like historical battle, and I decided to make it into like an episode of The Office. So there's an intro that's like The Office, and I made my own graphics for The Office, and the whole video honestly was not part of the rubric. So when I read the rubric at the end while I was editing, I was like, oh shoot, I didn't do anything that we were actually assigned to do. So I had to like cut a portion and do like a news report where I just literally read the information that's needed at the end of the video. So I really focused on the exciting part of getting together and filming like these funny clips of like mockumentary style jokes, Another one was bootleg National Geographic. That's what it's called. National Geographic I think it was a documentary on the bubonic plague. So a lot of what I was doing was interviews and like setting up the lights, setting up the microphones, and like framing. And in the National Geographic bootleg thing I called it International Geological. So
didn't that have a newsreel too, or am I just thinking of the other one?
I don't know about the newsreel. I think we were just interviewing people, and like the news like headline comes up when they pop by. But what was really exciting about that one was that I was able to learn how to graphic design or like visual effects type thing, because I wanted to do an intro, like an actual documentary intro where they like reveal the title or cinematic logo and stuff like that. So for the International Geological, I made, how it's a square? National Geographic is a square.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's make it a circle. So
that's what I see. That I remember that. I remember that part. Yeah.
So I spent like hours of keyframing and animating the circle to be appearing cinematically, and the text to appear, and the bubonic plague to appear. And
what are you using to edit? Like what were you using to edit before, and then what were you using to edit for these school projects?
So before, I was editing on my brother's computer. Every time he would be out, either at like somewhere, I don't know where he was, but I was editing on his Adobe Premiere. I think that's what it's called. I haven't touched it in a while, but it's Adobe Premiere is what I was editing on and learning how, like, YouTube tutorial. Adobe Premiere how to edit or animate images or something like that. And yeah, so every video project that I did at school, I learned something new, and I think that really helped me like explore what it's like to be on the editorial end and the directing end of filmmaking, and that's really what introduced me into all the possibilities. And another one, so throughout the school projects, I had a friend that was also doing pretty good quality videos as well. That there was two of us who were kind of competing at the time. So we're a big class, so sometimes the groups get mixed up and we end up in each other's projects. But we made our own cinematic universe. And usually we would never finish, we would never do the rubric like how I usually do it. We don't follow the rubric and do the information. We just make it look cool, and just we're making funny videos in the backyards, in each other's backyards. So like do you know Rogue One in the Darth Vader scene?
Yeah.
So there, we had been assigned a group project. I have 4 people on my group, and he has 4 people on his group, and I received a text and he was like, "Yo, come over. We're filming our own project right now. You want to be in it?" And then when it turned dark, he put on his bubonic plague costume, which was just like an inflatable costume, and we dressed up as all of our previous characters from the previous projects. And he like ran through us with a lightsaber, killing each other's characters as the bubonic plague is rising up in power, like Darth Vader in Rogue One
in that scene where he's just like going through.
So
and killing everybody.
I was directing. I was kind of directing. I was kind of behind the camera. I appeared once. I died first, so I could be behind the camera, and like direct people. And we were going through a gate. We were going through people dying. Like it was insane. It was really fun to just have that amount of videos for me to do in middle school. So yeah,
that's cool. I think when I was in, see that's the difference. I think you started younger, or maybe that just feels like that. But for me, like those videos of that I was talking about before, that was for me all like 6th grade maybe. Then I did like a couple videos here and there throughout the rest of middle school, but it wasn't like for school projects. I think for me, the school project thing really started happening sophomore year of high school, was when I started getting more into like actually trying to do something with video, and I thinking of it maybe as a potential hobby or career. But I remember the first video that I did for a school project that I was like, whoa, like that, it was good, which I think turned out to be a ripoff of a scene in The Office, because in The Office they do their own paper company commercial, and it's like following the lifespan of a paper and then how it makes it into the office.
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't watch The Office back then, so I don't know if any of my classmates had watched it that I was in a team with, but we had to do a video, or I think doing a video was an option. I forget. I just know that we ended up doing a video, but we had to do it on recycling. And so we it starts with a branch falling, and then somehow along the line, like then we drop a piece of paper, and then I spliced it so that the branch falls, which I slowed it down, but I didn't use the proper settings for slow motion, so it's like stuttering as it's falling. And then it turns into a paper, and we attached a string to pieces of paper so we can have it like flying in and out of the screen. And that really put me into the mindset of like, okay, how do we do this effectively? You know, we have to have something come in and out of frame. And so starting to think like that was such a good project to start on, because I had all my friends and my classmates helping me out on that. And it actually got the attention of the teacher, because we had shown it, and then I think they were doing like administrative walkthroughs. So I think the vice principal came in, or the principal. And so then the teacher was like, okay, so for our next project we have, and then she brought our project up again just to act like she was showing it for the first time, just so that the teacher, like the principal, the vice principal would be like, oh, okay, they're doing good work in this class. And me and my teammates looked at each other and were like, yeah, that, you know.
Highest praise.
And then from there, you know, I was on the video team for the yearbook after that, and then...
Video team? For the yearbook?
For the yearbook we had a marketing team, and so the marketing team was in charge of different, there was like I don't even know what we did, I just know that video was a part of it, like within the marketing side of it. And so I was on the video team of marketing for yearbook. We made like 3 videos a year. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was parodies, and I don't think I had that much say in it, but it was I was still part of those projects. I did make a commercial for Key Club for our school. I don't even know where that was shown or what that was for, but it was fun. And so just starting to get into the projects, I had a camcorder that I was using, and obviously didn't know how to use any of the settings. I just set it up to auto record, and that's when I started really thinking of like, what projects moving forward could I potentially do, projects like that I know you're going to end up bringing up, but those kinds of, I had a superhero idea that's similar to yours, and just like other things that never came into fruition. Like I never actually did them. I think I was nervous too, because I think being in a place where I didn't have access to actors or people who necessarily wanted to be actors, it was difficult. Or if I did know those people, I didn't feel comfortable enough with them, or I wasn't friends enough with them to try
Direct
to do anything.
them?
Yeah, direct them or do anything serious or try to meet after school.
Yeah.
So, it was difficult, and I think I had to just like kind of abandon that at the time, and then just move forward. But yeah.
Well, I was gonna talk about how like I began learning about the film industry, where it was generally just in the pandemic where I was just curious, and YouTube was a major source of where I wanted to like learn, and I want to give a little shout out to all my sources of what I learned through them. Studio Binder is like a whole film channel about like what are the different kinds of screenplays or stuff like that, different kinds of shots, different kinds of scenes, color grading, all that. And I would they're like 30 minutes long, and I would kind of binge them in the pandemic when I'm off of school, because like we had like a year and a half of not being in school, and I had so much time, and I think I spent that time relatively well. I wasn't really playing video games, and I still really don't. So I like using my time to like understand where I kind of maybe want to go in the future a little bit more. Another one was Standard Story Company, where I think a little bit of a smaller channel, but he was doing like some how to film a short film on a budget, or how to film a short film with one camera, or like little to no crew. And Jacob Tyler Mowry, he taught me the ins and outs of writing a screenplay. So what does INT mean, EXT, like all these things and all the tips, and how to like flesh out the idea into a screenplay, which those videos really led me to writing a lot of what we're going to talk about. So in the pandemic, I wrote The Imprisonment of Andrew Miller. I don't know, you remember this? It was
I do.
I think I have its own folder in here.
Oh gosh.
It has its own folder. The I Am Project is as it was named. It's very thick. Let's see what we got here. So basically, Kaelin, I want to hear what you remember this story to be, and I'll correct you.
You want me? Okay.
Yeah.
So it follows Andrew Miller as he wakes up and he finds that everyone's missing. And then he's trying to understand, like he wakes up. No, he comes home. Okay, so this is what he comes home from school. His mom is there. He feeds his rabbit, and he's just like, I'm sad. And then he goes to his room, takes a nap, or goes to sleep or something. And then he wakes up the next day, and everyone is gone. He goes outside, and he's like, what is happening? He sees a cloaked figure and in his house, and he's like, what are you doing here? And he starts chasing him. That's when I think he walks out of the house. He chases him out of the house, and then does the cloaked figure die? There's another Andrew.
Three characters.
There's three.
Let me take over.
There's another Andrew Miller, and that guy dies.
Okay.
He gets hit with a knife.
Okay. So it's been a while since I've actually thought of this story, but the rough synopsis is, yes, he comes home, takes a nap. Editing Matt here. I'm stopping myself right here because yes, what we recorded was a really rough synopsis. We literally read through the whole script and started talking over the whole script. I'm going to skip 30 minutes forward when we are finally summarizing it in a less rough way. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And
gets a suit, becomes the second version.
He sees. Okay, let's do this clean.
Okay.
The I'm Project is that Andrew Miller takes a nap. He ends up in a different world. The similar world, like Stranger Things, upside down, but it's just empty. Andrew Miller is in his house and he sees two figures. One figure in a suit and another figure cloaked figure.
He doesn't see the suit guy at first. He sees him later.
Yeah,
but there are two figures.
There are two figures in the house. He runs out of fear of what is going on into the street, grabs scissors out of self-defense, and throws it at the cloaked figure. He hits the cloaked figure, and out of fear, he runs away.
No, he throws it and just runs. He doesn't even see it.
Yeah. He throws it behind him, runs, and
when he turns
161
around,
days pass after he's thrown
he turns around, he sees there's a figure there, and he's walking the streets for 161 days.
He's wandering in an empty world, doesn't know what to do. He eats a Twinkie, blah blah blah. He pees on a
there's a whole Twinkie scene.
Yeah.
He pees on a wall. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, dude, we had a water bottle and we poked the hole in the water bottle and I had to like swing it around and like write, right? What was it? I was writing his name.
We were just doing it. We did a target. And
we did a target and then we wrote his name.
Yeah.
Or like something. Okay. Yeah. It was so dumb. So dumb. Okay. So good.
So
okay, sorry. Continue.
161 days pass and he finds a house that has like some sort of calling to him. So he breaks into the house and he goes into a closet looking for some new clothes. While he's rummaging around, he sees a glow off the side of his face. Turns to his left, perfectly laid suit. Something's calling to him. He puts it on. Then he walks again for a few days and finds that he's in front of his own house again. And he goes in the house, he does his own thing, like he's at home. He found home again.
I think he just realizes there's no one else around. He's just gonna live.
He's doing his own thing. Yeah. And then one day, he hears someone on top of the house as well. Someone coming home, I guess.
He's been going crazy, too. We should say that. He's been going crazy. So now
he thinks he's hallucinating.
Yeah.
So he's following the steps across the roof while he's in the house. He goes outside and he sees this person fall in front of him, face to face. And out of fear, out of hallucination again. Both of them run, I guess, in the same direction, sort of. They go into the street and they confront each other.
It's the same cloaked figure that he saw before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Andrew wants to know who he is, blah, 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 and they get talking. They go back to the house, and they spend a few moments together. They bond, basically. So, later, after a while of bonding, and after a while of getting to know each other, they have some very similar qualities.
And mannerisms and things.
Mannerisms
they eat the same cereal.
Yeah. So, then, they hear a noise. In the same house that Andrew in the suit had arrived in. They hear a noise from his room. And it's a new Andrew. It's another Andrew that has arrived. So out of fear, cloaked figure has, like, you could hear him talking about something that's gonna happen. Something's happening. And he's making commotion somewhere in the house. Andrew hides behind a counter and watches the whole thing go down. The new arrival walks into the living room, sees the cloaked figure, and out of fear grabs scissors and runs. So does cloaked figure. Cloaked figure is running and escaping through a different route. And then Suklun follows cloaked figure. So all three of them end up on the same street that they were in the beginning. And scissors fly from the new arrival, similar to how Andrew threw the scissors before. And the scissors are going to cloaked figure and Suklun. Cloaked figure pushes Suklun out of the way and cloaked figure gets hit. Cloaked figure gets hit, and it's fatal. And Suklun, which is Andrew now, the Andrew we've been following, holds cloaked figure in his final moments, and cloaked figure disappears away. And in that moment, cloaked figure said something about like, put this on, or something more on the lines of put this on, or like
I think we were still like, I think we were troubleshooting like whether, or like storyboarding, or what's the word? We were still brainstorming whether or not we should have it so that he tells him to put on the suit, or out of respect for his friend.
I think we ended up on respect.
I think, he just puts it on to be like, my friend wore this, so I will too.
He puts it on, and then he looks in the mirror and he sees his friend. And then that's the end. And at the end of it, the reveal is that it's an entire loop in this world.
He's stuck in a loop.
So he knows he's gonna die at some point, which is why cloaked figure before knew he was gonna die.
Yeah.
So when cloaked figure finally meets Suklun, he knows his demise is soon.
And cloaked figure knows he's gonna meet himself. Yeah.
So it's inspired by Inception, in terms of like the dream world. And I don't know where I got the loop from, but I wanted some like
time loops is like a thing.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty interesting how I came.
It is interesting. Interesting.
I think it's unique. I think it's kind of great. Like if I could like make it more of like emotional or like and less technical in the way things play out, I think it would be like a good story.
See, I think the problem with this was that so we did have some solutions to some of the issues, but obviously the main problem would be whenever you see an Andrew Miller with his face, like we'd have to split the screen. So you'd have to mask part of the screen so that you'd have to film the scene twice basically. So we couldn't move the camera. It made shoot days like really long. We were also going to try to find somebody with a similar height, and then we were going to try to bring Emma into it
as the cloaked figure.
The cloaked figure, so that at least Matthew could dub his voice later, and that could save some time.
And then I grew.
And then you grew, so then you were taller than Emma, and so then it was weird, because, and then, do we have to make a new meeting?
Listen, I wanna show something really quickly. It's always been in my room. So, we filmed a short trailer, is what I like, a trailer short of like concept of what it would be looking like, this short film. But this is the cloaked figure's helmet, and I thought
sick.
It's so scary. It's so scary.
It's so cool. Like it's like whimsically fun.
Yeah.
Like but scary. It's almost like a Tim Burton-esque like creation come to life.
There's a whole suit that came with it. It was just like a sweater and some sweatpants.
No, it was a cool it was a cool idea, and that's one of your ideas that I wish we had time for. I think we talked about it in the first episode, but Matthew had mentioned like there was a project where I was like, Matthew, we're not going to get this done, and then you were like, yeah, we will. Like it'll be fine. I was like, no, we won't.
That's this one?
It's this one because like you said, the script was long. There was a lot technically that had to be done.
Yeah, and we were only 3 people: me, Kaelin, and Emma. And a lot of the time, Emma was either doing something for school, and Kaelin was working.
And I was working, and it was during a summer. And I think, it was 3 months, and we couldn't meet all the time. I think we could only meet like twice a week, or twice every other week, or something like that. So it was really difficult to try to juggle our schedules. And then we came to the end of the summer, and Matthew was like, "Oh, you were right," and I was like, "Yeah, unfortunately." But I do wish. I think if we had more time, and I think if we had more access to other stand-ins and people, like even if we had someone with your hair cut that we could take from the back so that they could be like suit clone.
I think it's like if I can refine it and I have time, I feel like it's another possible, like I could also shorten it down. It's a possible like little project that we can
work on. And like or like you said, even if you had worked on the script, even if you wanted to make it longer, you can make it more emotionally driven. I think I think
it was a good story to try to flesh out onto screenplay, like as like one of my first major like writing stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I think you have, and maybe we'll see in the next couple too. I think you have a lot of ambitious ideas, and I get that because I do too. But then it just becomes really difficult.
It's not realistic.
Yeah, and I think that's what I also had in high school when I was writing scripts as well. Was just. Like I said, I didn't have access to actors or the technical skills to do the things that I wanted to do on screen, and so maybe I'll talk about it more when we get to Red Feather. But it's difficult things. It's things that like you need a crew for, but we're kids at the time, so we don't have.
I was like what, 12, 13? Yeah. Okay, so quickly, this is my notebook. The notebook that I was talking about before, where you guys were making fun of my red shorts. So, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is concept for the mask.
I don't know if I can really see it, but so for the podcast listeners, Matthew's holding up a notebook and he's showing drawings that don't translate well to
audio. So it doesn't matter. So there's some images here of the concepts of masks. If you want to watch the video, see these parts, it's gonna be pretty cool. Here's a vision of the cloak that I drew in class.
3 different drawings of cloaks.
Yeah, close up, and like there's some stick figure storyboards that you definitely won't be able to see.
I cannot see those. No.
Yeah, but it's in what's the month for 6?
June
17th, 2022.
What's the month for 6?
Yeah. So I have a bunch of like props and like shot lists that I had to go through. We have your handwriting down here.
Oh gosh.
Um, things you need to be done before all this, and then we get into our next project, which is the red feather. I thought this one was more ambitious than the last. This one was more ambitious than the last. You don't think so? Well, let's look at the script length. It's 65 pages long. It started with an idea of, well, Miss Marvel came out, and it was someone that was like into Marvel, and they somehow landed a job as a lead, a superhero. So I was like, that'd be cool. That'd be cool if that happens, but I'm not an actor. So, what the best I can do is write about it. Originally, it was gonna be a series of shorts where someone was living through moments in the Marvel universe, the MCU. So like we were gonna have one at the Battle of New York, the Blip, and some I couldn't think of any others, so we scrapped that idea.
I
And
remember that. I forgot about it until now, but yeah, I remember that.
and then I was like, what if someone like me became a superhero in the MCU? A Filipino, perhaps. So
This was before Shang-Chi or after?
I think it was after. So I wanted to do my research and base it in like I don't want to make up a superhero. Basically, I didn't want to make up something that was like, oh, Toaster Man or something like something stupid like that. So I researched Filipino Marvel superheroes and I was able to land on something pretty cool. I think it's a gold mine that MCU hopefully doesn't touch yet, and I can make something about it. And
I don't know, with the way MCU is going these days.
yeah, who knows? So what I landed on was the Red Feather, and a whole nother team of Filipino superheroes that was stationed in Manila, Philippines. And I bought with my own money as many comics as I could as they appear in. So I read through them. I figured out this character Red Feather and how it was like something that you pass on. So if you go to Marvel Wiki, you'll see Red Feather 1, Red Feather 2, Red Feather 3. And you'll see that when they die, they pass it on to the next person. That in the Philippines, they would be trained at the station, like where their main headquarters is. So there's a whole team. I forget what they were, but I was planning on making my own Filipino cinematic universe. Each character had their own film. But what I landed on was a story where long lost son. The Red Feather goes out to do his Red Feather duties, and someone in America is his son. And when he dies, someone in a suit goes to his house and gives him a little box that his dad has left him after he died. So originally, in the universe, was that the dad died shortly after he was born, but in reality, he was just out there dead, serving as the Red Feather, and only 3 days prior he had died.
But the mom knew, right?
The mom knew
The
about the
mom
Red
knew
Feather.
that.
Yeah,
Well, it was in order to protect his family.
yeah,
He had to
yeah,
send them to America so that he can stay in the Philippines and
yeah.
continue to be Red Feather.
Uh-huh.
And he has the main character has a cousin too, whose dad also was another one of the superheroes.
Yeah, yeah. So
So then,
there's a whole little family of descendants
yeah,
in America.
yeah, yeah. But
So
the uncle and the dad were in the Philippines fighting.
yeah, so the cousin knows that her dad is in the Philippines, and that's all. I have the character sheets right here. So, um, our main character, being the son of the Red Feather, is Nate J. Agbayani. I looked up the most Filipino last name I could find. And then that's the helmet. That's the helmet. That's the helmet. I tried to 3D model for Red Feather, and I think it looks pretty close. I don't know.
The funny thing is, Matthew made it so big that it actually fits my head and it didn't fit his.
Yeah, it's supposed to fit me. So
That's
basically Nate was the son, and he received the box that I have here. Like it's a lock box. You open it, and he finds a little red ball, and it's a nanotech ball. He doesn't know that. He starts throwing it around and tossing it like in honor of his dad. Like, why did you lie to me this whole time? Where did you come from? And something happens where it activates, and he gets that turns into the helmet. Puts it on, and then blue mist sprays out of the suit, And in the MCU, Blue Mist is like how you make an Inhuman or an offshoot of like a different kind of enhanced mutant person. So he gains his powers, and he goes to his cousin and talks about it. Blah,
Well,
blah, blah.
the whole team though, right? It's not even just the Red Feather. It's like
The whole team dies.
dies.
Yeah. So it was kind
that's
of like
that's important for later, I guess.
I guess so, but the rough story is that everyone that was against the Triumph Division is what it was called.
Yeah.
The team of Filipino superheroes was called the Triumph Division. Everyone that was against him comes to America and tries to hunt down Red Feather, the young one, like the newest one.
Because he's the only one that has the suit, his father's suit. Everyone else doesn't have their suit yet, so they're trying to stop him from being able to form the Triumph Division again.
Yeah. And like I think it was based off of Marvel's Young Avengers, the Next of Tomorrow or something like that, where it's a small animated Marvel film where the descendants of like the Avengers come like they were protected, and then they find out the secret, and then they have to fight the parents' battle. So it's kind of based off of that. My camera's dying. I'm gonna go fix it really quickly.
Unless you like.
Well, that's Red Feather. I didn't.
I think the real cool plot twist I think that you had in there was just that your cousin, who was played by Emma. We never filmed anything of this.
Yeah, we didn't. We just started pre-production and planning of what we would have to buy and stuff.
But Emma gets something from her dad, right? And at the last scene was her in the blue fog or the blue mist too. So she just got her powers too.
It was a sword.
So that would have had a spin-off there.
Yeah.
But
I like the story, but I made it a little.
It's a good story. It's a good story. Again, it's one of those things that was like, super ambitious. Okay, this is my thing. I think both were ambitious in their own ways, like equally ambitious. One was like super technically ambitious, which was the I Am project, because we had to worry about all the split screening and post edit, like everything in post that had to be done in order to make it smooth. The long shoot days, but I think this one was tough because we didn't have the talent for it. There was a lot of agents that would have come and fought. Yeah. I was one of the agents. I was the guy who brought you or I would have played the guy who brought you the box or the helmet. We had Emma, we had you, and we all at that time I think we were getting even crazier with our schedules, so it was harder for all of us to meet too. It's tough. I think going back to my high school idea as well, that I had a similar idea because that was going to take place in Carson, which is the city that we grew up in, and I also had an idea for a superhero, like an original superhero that would have also taken place in the city. And it's funny to me, there's this theory in this book, and I'm blanking on the name. Ideas, she thinks of ideas as kind of these, what's the word, these beings essentially, or like they have their own autonomy, and so they'll attach to the person that they think has the best chance of making them come to life, and then when they don't, then they detach to someone else.
Yeah, I think you told me this before.
Yeah, so she tells a whole story of how she met this author, and they start talking. She talks about like this idea that she had thrown away a while back or given up on, and this other woman's like, that's crazy because I am writing a book that is exactly that. And so they think that like, or she, just through their interactions, that they've somehow exchanged ideas, or the idea detached from her and onto the other author. And I was saying like something similar probably happened with us, where I had this idea for a superhero, having the Filipino culture, because my friends who I wanted to play the side characters too were Filipino, so being Filipino would have had a big role in that as well. But just it's interesting, like it's not fully the same, but there are similarities between them. It was going to be like a teenage superhero. It's just interesting to me that we both had somewhat similar ideas and similar locations and things. And I
think after writing those two big things, I think after that, I started to, after both those rejections and like not being greenlit and stuff like that, I was like, maybe I have to make it shorter and cheaper in the beginning. And I'm not entirely letting go or like letting the idea of Red Feather like leech off of me yet, or like I Am Project, but I'm basically I'm trying to write shorter scenes and more meaningful scenes rather than like elaborate plots of movies and stuff like that. Because back in the pandemic, I was really only watching like Mission Impossibles, Marvel, and like some Inception, Interstellar. Those are
like big blockbuster stuff,
big movies.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, let me do that now. You know, let me do that like as 13, 14. You know, but now I'm like, if I really want to do this, I have to do it right, and I have to do it like in a way that'll get me the experience and everything I need to know. And yeah, just making short films would be easier, honestly. If I could tell myself that, like, and I would be like, write shorter and write cheaper and write simpler. That's what you should be doing right now. Learning the basics and figuring out a way to get it done. Okay. So another one, the last one that we're going to talk about really quickly, is the short film that I submitted to my school's like open house. Basically, it was like an open submission. Make your art and we'll display it. Basically, so I had an idea after watching Godzilla versus Kong, where this girl was sign languaging to Kong. I'm rusty, so I don't know what I'm even saying.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because you saying that's the inspiration for this is crazy to me. So continue.
So after King Kong versus Godzilla, I was like, I want to make a little mom and son story, you know, based in sign language. So it was it was one of the more calmer stories I've ever written. There's no action at all. On like going off of Godzilla, I wrote something that is really mellow and calm and like a day in the life, young like mother and son, short.
I'm sorry. It's so good. Like I love this. This is my favorite project that you've worked on and that we've actually completed.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. I think it's like what you said. It's so mellow and it's emotional. It's emotionally impactful in like 5 minutes. I think you had 5 minutes to do it, and it's good. The story between this mother and son, who the mother is
deaf. The mother is deaf,
and so the son speaks to her with sign language. I think just the fact that you were talking about this big blockbuster movie, and it made me laugh that it was like Godzilla versus King Kong, and then from there got an idea to do something so meaningful and impactful. Is funny to me. And it's I mean, it's also when you see it, it has nothing to like.
Yeah, it honestly doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It's so different.
0%.
It's
like
so different.
Negative 0.
No action, no nothing. It's just funny to me that's where you got your idea from.
It like that movie inspired me to learn sign language, but also inspired me to like get that connection between the people, you know. Like it was more of the emotional aspect that I was searching for. So here's a rough like actual paragraph log line. This art submission that I entered into my school is basically a kid loves his camera, loves taking photos, and when he was out and about, his camera strap broke. He went home and showed his photos that he took to his deaf mom, and they were communicating through sign language, telling each other how beautiful the pictures are. How did the camera strap broke is what she asks, and he says it's not a big deal, it's fine. He could live without it. Then he puts his camera away, he goes to sleep, and wakes up in the morning for school, and he's kind of late, and he has to rush, and he looks for his camera and it's not there, so he has no time to look for it. He grabs his lunch and leaves. After school, he's biking home, and his camera is connected to an app where every time it sends a photo, it digitally goes to his phone. And he gets sent a photo from his app that someone has his camera, and his like there's a cap or a hat in the photo of his aunt's.
Oh, but we made it so that there's a delay too. So that's why he gets it later.
Yeah. And then he goes to chase down his aunt. He goes to his aunt's house and he finds his aunt at the house, like in the front gardening. And the aunt's like, I don't have it. I don't know what you're talking about. And he leaves and he's biking around. And then he sees his uncle with a sewing machine little down the street, putting it away. And then the kid asks, do you have my camera? And he's like, no, I don't have it. So defeated, he goes home. And then he sees his mom at home. And she has his camera. And she gives it to him. And it has a newly sewn camera strap. And they have a whole like, wow, you did this for me. I was looking for it. Yeah, I wanted to do this for you. Your aunt and I went to Joann's, which is where that photo that he got with the hat is from, and your uncle helped sew it for me, which is why the uncle had a sewing machine and was putting it away. And that was just the whole premise. And adding the deaf part, I don't know, it just added a layer to it or so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't really tell from my side of writing it. It was just like a gimmick that I put in there. But what do you think about like the sign language part?
I think it added something to it. I think it told a story.
I think
I don't
okay.
know.
Well,
what do you think?
I think it was a way, like photos, like visual things is a way that he can communicate to his mom, like in a different way other than sign language, is where he could take these beautiful photos and show his mom still, even though she is deaf. Like that doesn't stop him from sharing. Really.
Yeah, I think I had forgotten about that, but I think that is the one thing that I remember telling you too about, that I really liked that idea, because that was the whole thing, was that he came home and he was super excited to show his mom his pictures that he was able to take. And even though you play off of that a lot, where you like turn the lights on and off to get her attention, and you're able to show her these photos and she's like, oh, it's a nice photo, right? And you're able to talk and communicate that with her, and or your character was able to talk and communicate that with her, and it was nice, it was beautiful, and I don't know, there's just something about it. It's so good. It's so good.
But I really liked that one. I thought it was good. Thought it was like it didn't feel as grand as like all of the ones I've written, so it wasn't really
honestly
a big
one
deal
of
to me.
My favorite one that you've done.
I think it's one of my favorites because we finished it.
Yeah. Well, I personally like it because of the story, and we did it in 3 days.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It was super fast.
Yeah, like we were filming on like near I guess near our checkpoint is what I would say, and like on a viney wall, and our camera would die, so then I would have to actually use the bike and bike back to our checkpoint and grab a new battery, and that happened like 5 or 4 times. So I got a good like workout in, you know what I'm saying?
I remember that.
And Kaelin also drives off, and we had to reset the car like 3 or 4 times.
You had some ambitious ideas.
Shots.
In that.
Yeah.
See, I think that's the thing. I think you were ambitious in a good way in this one, or in a
realistic way.
In a realistic way,
yeah.
Like you had good ideas for shots that we were actually able to make happen. So it was good. It was I really like that one too. It was fun.
Let's just I'll just quickly go over my recents.
Yeah.
Recent events. So I take photos for my school's Instagram, and I was scheduled for an event, and I showed up and I did not have an SD card in the camera. So luckily, I am very smart for this. I opened my backpack, boom, spare SD card. So that's a little heart drop right there. But luckily, it was not an 8 gigabyte SD card or mini SD in there. It was actually big enough. My friend, like me, my whole siblings, we went to the same high school. My sister's friend was looking at the new post, and they were like, they checked the description, they saw my name, and so they contacted my sister, and they were like, "That's so weird. Your brother is like credited in these photos when I remember him being like a little boy."
Yeah.
So like that's one of my like receiving end of recognition. So, last point is that we were assigned a movie poster project, and I was like, cool. I could stretch a little bit of my like framing composition skills in a project that can quickly be done. So we had a weekend to do it, and I was like, as I typically do, I want to try really hard on this one. So, what I decided to do, you could either draw it or like Photoshop it. And what I did was I decided to 3D model it. I 3D modeled a scene in Blender, and it took I rendered an image, or I rendered different layers of the image, like the foreground, the midground, and the background, and I comped it in DaVinci Resolve and took a still from the video and printed it out. And it was insane. It was an insane process that took literally the whole weekend. I had to 3D model the whole space. I had to make a table, texture the table, make like the focus was on a bottle and a barber and someone in the chair in the background. So I made I downloaded the bottle, textured it, and I had to pose these freaking models. These models were so hard to pose. I had one down, and then I spent the whole rest of the day trying to figure out how to pose. Like, I refreshed my memory from last time I used Blender was to model the red feather helmet. So it's been a while. It's been like 2 years. So glad I stretched those muscles. It's been a while. That was actually really fun. All right, so I'm not sure. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about the Iron Project, Red Feather, my school submission, some of my school projects, and how similar me and Kaelin's past were kind of ish. And
we haven't talked about my college, so we'll see if your college and my college line up later in the future.
Who knows? You know.
Who knows?
It was really fun. I really like opening this binder and looking at all the work that I've done, and like going back to the thought process of who I was when I was writing these things, and like I thought I wrote some really interesting stories, and I really liked that it came from me. I'd like to thank you for sitting in. Hopefully, it's not too long of an episode, but
we'll see how much you can cut out.
We'll see how much I can cut out. But I really liked today's episode, so thank you for listening. I am that young Cineast, and I have always been that young Cineast. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
See you guys.